Hey everyone, Alex Maselli here, also known as Alex of All Trades, and joining me today is the Dim Side, and we are doing Watchmen by Alan Moore today.
Call me
Next,
Beverly. I just was lazy and didn't change. It just automatically does the dim side.
yeah, I know it automatically did the Alex's Book Circle for me because this is the name of the channel, and I was like, "That's okay, whatever."
That's how I felt too. Where I was like, "Should I?" No, whatever.
And next month's book club is going to be The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and that is going to be, it's a little earlier than normal. It's going to be the 13th of June, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on this channel and YouTube. And hopefully Beverly will be there.
Yeah, that should be fine. It's also Train Tracks' birthday.
It's also the day before your
anniversary, yes, and Corey's birthday.
It's the paper anniversary, if I remember correctly.
I think for first year.
Which I once heard someone say, "Well, get plane tickets to go on a trip." That made sense. Is because those are paper. Although I don't think they're paper anymore.
You get the boarding tickets when you go to the airport. You can get them printed out, but until that, you don't need them. You have everything on your phone or email, or you don't even need that either. As long as you have your code, then you go there and get your boarding pass and stuff. Which you also don't need because it can be on your phone too. I also get them printed out in case, because I'm paranoid. I'm like, what if my phone breaks or something and I don't have access to it? And so between now and then, so I get scared.
That makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to do a paper present these days. Besides just getting someone a card.
Origami.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Origami book somewhere. I think books count too, doesn't it?
I would say that books count.
Yeah, I would think so. Or just regular paper. I like having computer paper. I have so much of it because I collect. Any place that I've gone to school or worked, I've stolen paper from. I'm like, I work here, I attend here, so then I just take the paper when they have stacks of it all the time. So I'm like, they're fine. They don't need this.
That's hilarious. I think my work just gives me paper, something I can have shipped to my house. Not a big deal.
Nice.
Yeah. But they gave me a printer. It's huge though. It's so big, and I'm like, this is a tiny space. I don't have to print a lot though. But anyway, you did not like the ending to
I didn't like a lot of it, honestly. I know it's a classic, and I'm sure anyone who was any fans are gonna hate my opinion on it, but it was a slog, a lot of the reading, because it was just so slow paced and nothing. It was mostly just talking without as much investigating of the murder mystery. There were some parts of, so it took me a while to get into it, and then because then it was just jumping into these random characters, and we're kind of following them, but I don't know, I have no attachment to them. I have no idea who they are. And then they started doing here's this issue of this character, and then I liked those. Even if it wasn't necessarily progressing the storyline, we were getting background info of who they were, and I liked that. But again, still slow paced for so much of it. And then it finally started oh, okay, I'm invested. I know these characters. I have attachments. I'm getting into it. And then we got toward the end and then got to the end. And I was like, what the fuck? What did I just read? Why did I bother doing this? And I hate everything. I have never been more angry at something I've read before.
I should have warned you that it was.
You should have. So you posted in the Discord because you had those 3 questions of the 3 reveals though too, and did you predict blah 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 for each one of those? And when after you were saying that you should have warned me about it, because and I was thinking you could predict these other things here, but I couldn't foresee how much I was gonna hate this end.
The 3 reveals are that comedian is Lori's dad. That Rorschach is the Endesneer
guy.
And that Ozymandias is the guy doing all the shit. He's our bad guy. That's why I put a question mark after bad. Like, is this bad?
Yes.
And yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes, it is. Yes. It's a big discussion though. Like, he's like, people like, oh, he's doing it for the greater good. Or
it is
whatever.
not, because utilitarianism and greater good are bad things. I don't care. Like, I know it's a different philosophy, and people, and anyone who believes in that is wrong. They are just wrong. That is a bad philosophy, and I do not care what you think about that.
Even under his own philosophical argument, because he is utilitarianism, I argue that he's still the bad guy. And the reason why is because I don't know that the Cold War would have escalated without his involvement. Because he forces Dr. Manhattan to leave, and Dr. Manhattan was sort of
going to stay there and not going to cause any problems. Yes, it was unnecessary. I'm also angry with, like, are we supposed to think that his idea, it was a good plan? Because I kept thinking, this plan sucks for the smartest man in the world. This is a stupid plan, because this isn't long term. This is going to work maybe for a little bit until the alien invasion is like distant enough that they're like, hey, we're fine, the world's okay again. But we're human, and human nature happens, and we're going to go to war again because they want power. And like, this isn't going to last forever. You're going to either that's going to happen, or you're going to need to have more aliens attack though forever to keep people in check.
Yeah, because if nothing else happens after that, like instance that he created towards the end of the story for like 20 years, it'll go back to like war between humans.
John even says that, Dr. Manhattan. When I was telling the Ginger, he's like, is that when Dr. Manhattan? I'm like, yeah, because everyone just went by their regular names mostly though. So I'm like, John, Adrian. So I say that I saw those names more, but like John says it at the end too, because Adrian's like, I did the right thing, right? And then John says nothing ever ends, because like they ended, nothing ever ends. I'm like,
yeah, I did the right thing in the end. And that's an argument I've made like multiple times, that there is no end, so you can't justify means if there is no end.
Yeah, it's a very good point though. I'm like, this isn't a story. Like, this isn't. I mean, if you're trying to write it realistic, like the world they're in isn't their own story. That this doesn't have an ending, and unless the universe ends, I guess you could say. Then I'm like, even if the Earth is destroyed, the universe goes on. Like, it's still like ongoing and infinite. But like, if something were to happen to the universe, then potentially maybe it would end. But maybe there's another universe that we don't know about. Or maybe it starts again. Maybe it's a cycle. Maybe like there's constant big bangs throughout universes.
Well, and then on a human context, like there's only an end when literally everybody is dead. That is the only end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no end.
So if you're gonna say that like all of humankind dies, but I would still say too, like, even if I get it from a human's perspective, like, yes, there's ending for us though, but like, if it's just humans who die, but there are animals who survive, like the Earth still keeps going and probably going to evolve, and if in the future there'll be more like smart animals that will become us. So like, if that like, that's why I just think if humanity solely, but like the Earth is still functioning and stuff too though, like then it's still not the end, and for us, but just not the end. And if the universe continues on, probably life somewhere, like it makes sense that there would be some sort of life in that likely evolve. So I don't know, I have so many issues with this. I could get back to that part later, but I could start at my beginning notes. I have more notes than I thought I did. I think some of them I had questions and oh wait, to answer your things of the three reveals with Rorschach being the end as a guy, I was still confused if that was him until like the newspaper guy said like, he used to come to my, he'd come here all the time, and I was like, wait, is that the guy? But then I'd have to go back and check at previous issues on my phone. I'm like, I don't even know which issue that was that showed him. I really don't feel like going back and searching through everything. So I'm like, I'm going to assume that's supposed to be him because he was red-haired, wasn't he? And then
there were a ton of clues throughout. Like, he's there at Blake's funeral. He's literally outside.
I saw the
funeral. Yeah. there's that point where Rorschach says to Jacoby, like, you know, put if you want to talk to me, put a note in this Dropbox across from this diner, and Rorschach says he's at the diner, and then we see people like throwing things in the trash, and then like Rorschach says, "Oh, I see. I got a I got a message." And then the next thing we see is from the perspective of the newspaper vendor, and in the background is the end is nigh guy coming and grabbing.
Oh, because you're seeing it from his. Oh, yeah. See, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's so many things that happen in the background of panels that are actually like really like clues to things like that.
Which is cool. I like that. And I mean, I didn't remember everything. I've only read it the one time too, so I didn't look closely at all the panels and stuff. I think there was some stuff I noticed, but otherwise I liked the colors, how I looked more at just the art of the coloring of it. I thought
I love the compositions. I don't like how Gribbins drew women because they don't look like women. Like half the time I'm like, is this supposed to be a woman? I can't actually tell.
Use women probably. He sees like what superheroes would be like. This is how he sees all women.
And it's not even like that was the thing. It's like it's not even that they're not hypersexualized or anything. They just don't look like women. They look like men mostly.
I prefer hypersexualized. I'd rather see pretty women.
Ditto. And I think both Silt Spectres are supposed to be sexualized, but they don't seem all that sexual because they don't look like women.
So for the
second one, Laurie's dad.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I'm stuck on Rorschach because that's the thing I'm most upset about in this whole thing. It's Rorschach.
Everybody hates that he dies. Everyone.
Just like send him to another continent or something though, or just leave him there and stuck in Antarctica for like destroy the ship or something. Then he's just there forever or something. Like anything else. Did not need to blow him up though. Like he's the only one I liked. It's crazy. I mean, I didn't like him at first though, and then I realized because he was like too aggressive to poor Moloch though, where I'm like, he's he was a villain, but he did his time. Like he was a free man now, and he has cancer. Like leave the man alone. Like don't beat him. So I felt like for someone who cares about like justice and sees things in black and white and all that, like you should accept that this man is living clean now. He did serve his time, like his punishment. Like you shouldn't see him as a criminal. Like that's that. So I didn't like that. But also he's crazy. So forgiving that. But I like crazy people. I like a lot of crazy characters though. So I was just
he's everyone's favorite. He's like literally like almost everybody loves Rorschach. Like, he is like
he really grew on me aside from him being a redhead, was the grossest part.
I know how much you hate redheads.
But yes, I love Rorschach. And for that kind of ending, it was so I would have been man, this is mediocre. I thought it was dumb and I didn't super like Watchmen, but with killing Rorschach, I was like, I hate this. This is stupid. And this was such you want to write about like feudalistic things and stuff too. Like, yeah, well, it was a waste of my time to read this. So mad. But for the Laurie's dad thing, I did call that, like I saw that was coming, that he was going to, I don't remember at what point, but it was earlier on that it was like he's gonna have to be the dad from it. Like there's too much drama and emotion here to not be relevant. And then for Ozymandias to be the bad guy, I wasn't really thinking about the bad because I just kept because it was so slow paced. I thought we were still like more characters are going to come in, more characters, we're going to develop more things, and we're gonna I am towards the end here. There aren't any more characters, and so when it said it was him, I'm like, that makes sense. But I was also disappointed because, and I get maybe this is new at the time when it came out in the 80s, but I've just seen this so much in media where like the super likable guy, like the charismatic one, the good one that everybody likes, twist is actually the bad guy. So for me, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be, different and
this came out in 87, so it was much.
I don't know what I mean, not just in superhero, but like in anything, like it can be like just general stuff where like the charismatic likable person is the bad guy in the end. So back before the 80s, I don't know if in any media at all if that was a thing or not, but coming from me having seen this a bunch of times, it was just like, well, it's not new to me, and so I was disappointed to see like that this is common for me to.
think I don't think it was that common to have, though, this guy who has tons of money and considers himself super, super intelligent and owns all these companies to end up being the bad
Right.
guy.
So I'm trying to think of it as, like, at the time it was released, how this might have been more, like, novel of a concept, though. But again, because of how it ended, I can't be very happy. But and for me personally, seeing this in other media, I was disappointed when I saw, like, oh, of course he's the bad guy, because like there weren't any other characters that you're introducing, and he was barely involved in it, though. Like everyone else was, you got to see a little bit more of them, and he was just too good to be true, kind of thing, though. So I'm like, yeah, it was pretty obvious, but coming from someone who's seen this a lot already, though. So
Yeah. When I think the whole thing about, he's like, oh, what are you talking about? I retired 2 years before the King Act came out, and like told everyone who I was. And it's like, from the smartest man in the world, you couldn't predict the King Act. I find that suspicious. He definitely did. Like, that's not said in the comic, but I'm pretty certain
I just don't.
Or caused it to happen.
Right? Yeah, we could have, and I just don't. I mean, maybe he is the smartest man in the world. I just don't think he's that smart, though. But like, because the fact that just because he thinks that plan was good, like that, for him to think the plan that he did to all this is like, I did it the right thing in the end, right? I think that was dumb, because I don't think that was like, no. How do you not know that you need to keep doing this forever? Like, this isn't going to fix the problem permanently. For the smartest man would know that, and keep to.
Well, and I think part of the problem with why I think he's so evil, though, is for the fact that, like, we've seen that these supposedly intelligent people who have these really, really bad plans that fuck with millions of people's lives, if not billions, and think that they're the good guy. Like, that is a real thing out in the world right now.
Oh yeah. I think that part is that part's believable of like. And I think that's a good bad guy, is someone who thinks they're doing good, like, at least like the right thing for. I mean, like Wilson Fisk and Daredevil, like I think he thinks he's trying to better the neighborhood and stuff with all the terrible
especially
things.
in season 1.
And I feel like he has admitted that, like later on, though, like, I've done wrong things, and then still continues to do it. So I think at that point he like just knows more of these. But at least early on, he's like, no, I'm trying. So, and I think that works well, like that you're doing what you think is right. Your morals are skewed, though. And so I think that's a good bad guy, but I'm going to hate you.
Yeah, he's very hateable.
But yeah, okay. Let me see my notes here. At the beginning, I had dinner at 8:30. Just I felt that was really late. Like, why do people have dinner so late at night, though? It's crazy. But Lori wanted to have dinner with Dan at 8:30. Funny how superhero comics got less popular. They just keep getting... Oh, like in there, it was talking about how like people got over the superhero fad and stuff too, though. And I'm like, but in real life, they're really into it now. Like everyone's superhero stuff.
That's the idea that if there were real superheroes, which there's only one real superhero in the story of the Watchmen, the rest of them are just costume adventurers, as they call them, would make superhero comics not interesting anymore. Like, if there were real zombies, would we want to read about zombies?
Let me think about this for a second, because there are like things in real life that I like fictional stories of them, though. So like I still think I would, especially when your real heroes are lame, that like you don't have powers. So then you have fake stories about like, here's people with superpowers. Like, yeah, I'd be more interested in that.
Yeah, there's real soldiers in the world, but people still write fiction about soldiers, and it sells. Like, so it doesn't. It's like, it's a theory about fiction, but it's not an accurate one, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's wrong, because I'm not even just like fighting, but I'm just thinking anything at all, like animal stuff. Like, these animals exist, but do I still want to see some sort of like fictional story about two brother tigers? Do I want to see things about like horses and stuff too? Like, yeah, like that's a constant. That's fictionalized versions of them, and especially when you kind of make them more like somewhat intelligent, like you, or at least like you have some sort of like personification of them too, though, and it makes Mr. Ed Like, and that too, though, like horses exist. Like, is that still like something like, yeah, this is a fun concept?
Well, and even not anthropomorphized horses. Black Beauty is like really like it's famous among like girls read the shit out of that.
Yeah, well, that's what
And
I mean. I didn't mean like anthropomorphized, but just that they have some amount of intelligence that like that you can like relate to them though too. Like, oh, that like it's like how I personify like, this rock I feel like has emotions or something. I will like imprint something to that, like, oh, you could see that like this is trying to say like it's sassy. This rock is so anything that you can notice that like this, maybe the horse is more intelligent or it does. I'm thinking of Caitlin's Way, that I think a Disney Channel show, and where she really liked her horse, but I feel like the horse, she, it was like a teen drama kind of angsty thing, but she really loved that horse. But I think sometimes the horse just kind of like knew, like understood things and all that though. But yeah, I don't know. So I think that's a bad theory, that just because things happen in real life that you would get bored by it. Like, no, you just make the fictionalized versions cooler, bigger,
yeah,
better. And that's easy to do when your heroes are like, you're just costume people. Also, though, we have to talk about how like only one of them is like super powered, but how do we define superheroes? Because there are so many in the comics and stuff too that don't have actual powers but are considered superheroes, though, to Batman and stuff like that. So
I have a friend whose theory is that you're only a superhero if you have a way of stopping a bullet. And I'm like, that's actually kind of a fair, level of decision. And there's also a theory that Batman is choosing. He does have a superpower. This is like fan canon kind of stuff, wherein he is choosing to enter like every point where something could happen. He chooses the reality that has the best outcome, like over like even if like something negative happens, like his parents dying, it's still the better outcome than what could have happened, or like over and over and over again. So and I find that it's an interesting idea, and I think there's a short story kind of based on the idea of someone like aware of the fact that they're doing this. And
how do you know that's going to? Does he know that he's doing, or
no, the idea is that he's subconsciously doing it and he doesn't realize it.
Because like, how do you know the better outcome for a lot of situations? Though, too,
like, no, that's the thing.
Out of your hand.
And that would be making it like a more of a metaphysical thing or something above even his regular his ability to posit out, is that essentially some low, like maybe deep part of his brain recognizes what's going to be the better reality and chooses it for him.
Like the luck power, though, too, like domino.
Yes, it is like a luck power. Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Oh, I felt too that like, oh yeah, it makes sense that they're called the Watchmen, because the most of what they did was just watch things go down.
No, it's a reference to a Latin phrase, "Who watches the Watchmen?" Watchmen being members of the like guard for the city.
Yeah.
People of authority who watches them. And I told you that the original version of this that I read had more pages between the issues, and some of it was about the graffiti going around right before the Teen Act was going on. That the riots of 77, almost everywhere was that phrase, "Who watches the Watchmen?" And that's why this is called Watchmen, because the riot is referring to the costume adventurers, that when they say Watchmen, so that's why this is called, because we're following them. Those are the only characters who matter, are these costume adventures.
Yeah. So I got that, but I just thought it was like very fitting because of it, just because all they do is watch things, though, that it's very much, we're just talking and then watching things play out and then letting the bad guy get away with things in the end. Cool.
Except for Rorschach, he absolutely refuses.
God. That got him. What was the other thing I was going to say? I see, even some of the excerpts and stuff at the end, sometimes it was like kind of a little boring or again slow, but also interested because I like seeing like here's side information to help with the world building. So it is something that I like to see, like stuff within that world that like, oh, I get to have stuff about. Like, I like to know more about that.
Yeah, it had like things like who are the top knots, the dings and stuff like that, and telling you about like Night Owl versus Night Owl 2 and Silk Spectre versus Silk Spectre 2.
Okay.
What happened to all of the Minutemen that Nelson put together that like Silk Spectre and Night Owl were in? Like because like what happened to Silhouette? Like we hear like them talk about it like slightly, like oh that guy got killed. This guy ended up in an insane asylum. Night Owl retired. Silhouette was murdered in her bed not long after being after being retired, I think.
And then she got kicked out and stuff too because she's gay, and then the other people in it like they're other gay people, but they didn't want to call themselves out though, so they just were like, yeah, let's. Is that who was gay?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Hooded Justice was gay.
See, but so I like with like manga and anime and stuff too is that they do have so much of it, like at the end, even like of like volumes and stuff too. It'll have like character bios, so like here are these characters, and like you get like their birthdays. They get like
yeah,
I know, I love dislikes that. And all that. So like they do even with villains and stuff too. So then you're just like, here are the characters we have. Here's information about them though, so you just kind of like know them more. And they might not come up in stories, but you know that like this is the character, we built these around it. And then other stuff too, like I have like books and things of like artwork, but it has even more like detailed information of characters and other stuff and like magic system and all these things too. And I'm like, yeah, I like having these extra things so like I know more about this world that I'm just watching. And I think those are cool, and Western stuff should do more of that.
Yeah, and Watchmen did do that, and I appreciated it. Like when I read it, because I was like, I feel like I'm getting more information here.
Bright blue gags. Oh yeah, I wasn't familiar because I know like blue comedy, like blue humor, but then and it said bright blue gags, and I was like, is that and the same? And so I had to look it up. How much it's like? Oh, I think I had problems with some of the typing because sometimes I'm like, there's double spaces here, and then there's like weird like hyphen. So I was bothered, and some other things that I'm like, is this intentional? Are these typos? There were some like even in like I like the police blotters. There were so many typos in that. And I'm like, that's so realistic because when I had to type up police blotter, I was like, there were just constant typos and issues and whatever. But then there are other parts too that I was like, is this intentional or is this an accident? Because like there was one with Adrian. Where was it? He wrote something. His something he wrote, there was a typo in there. I can't find where it's at now, but I was like, oh, it said like for, I think it was supposed to be for our civilization, but it said for out civilization. But and I was trying to see like is out, because an out didn't make sense there. So I'm like, it seemed like our. So I was like, is this an intentional typo by the author or was it an accident? Because I'm like, I feel like the smartest man in the world would have proofread and not make that mistake.
Sounds like an actual writing mistake.
Yeah.
Which means the editor should have caught it.
All gold may not, but there were other things too in there. But I was like, who edited this? All gold may not come from supernova. Oh, John said something about it. And maybe at that point in time in the 80s, they thought that was true, but I was like, not all. It doesn't all.
Almost all of the physics science in this, by the way, like is based on like really old physics science.
Yeah, so I'm like,
so like half the things that freaking Dr. Manhattan says don't make any sense.
Which I was so bothered by like him, like, oh, like I know everything. I know what's going on in the future, and this I'm describing these things too. And I was like, hold up, this doesn't make sense. I know
it's a limitation of like you can't write about science as we know it at the time and then act like it's like you're gonna run into a problem where 40 years down the line we're talking about it and most of it's wrong.
Yeah. And so again, like I get it though, like you're writing it in the world as much as you know, so you have to take that with a suspend our disbelief. But I was bothered, so I double checked too because it's like that's not right.
It's sort of like Herman Melville calling whales fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Oh
he
my
was
God.
wrong, but at the time, that's
Please
what they thought.
stop looking at more things I hated reading. It's one at a time. Recent research believes 20% from supernovas and 80% from neutron star collisions.
You literally, yeah, I know you're really into space.
Yeah, so I had to double check. So I was like that doesn't sound right. Isn't Janie Slater only like 37? Assuming she was the same age as John, they were only together 7 years. She's not that noticeably older than him then. That was his first girlfriend, and then I think that must have said something about her being a little bit older or whatever than him, and that she was. But so they're only together 7 years. Oh yeah, because she came in and had like cancer, but was like looking old and stuff though. But I guess like he is supposed to. I forget what I was what I was thinking at the time though. But she was 37 at the time they got together, and he was 30, maybe 35. I
He was
forget.
30. He was 30 when he died, which he's already like different upon coming back
Yes,
together.
he was
Because
32. They were the same age then, because then he's 37. So sorry, go ahead.
when he puts himself back together, like, he's already disconnected from humanity because he doesn't tell his dad that he's still alive.
I know. And
I was like
crazy.
hearing that in his issue, it's like, wow, you already were disconnected like immediately, because I would say that the first thing like any like person who was still like human would do would be like made sure the loved ones know that they're not dead.
I didn't understand if he had a purpose of like, for some, because it didn't get, I don't know, that there was a reason that it was just better for his dad to believe his son to be dead than to see him like this, but they never like really elaborated on why he did that though. So that
he just didn't say it. He didn't, like, we don't hear his reasoning. He just never, he says he never corrected.
But I didn't know if the way I thought, like, was there a purpose for that? Why you didn't correct it? I thought it was going to lead into like a reason why, and then it never did. I was just like, oh, okay.
That made me think that he didn't care to like that it's just apathy.
But and that's what I mean. Like, if he's going, it would make sense to me that it would happen immediately once you've reconstructed yourself, that you're this new being and stuff too. Like, you don't have the same human emotions anymore as you once did. I'm surprised that she stayed with him for 7 years like that, because I would not think it would last that long. And for Lori to be with
that, I this time reading it, I was laughing at the idea of his relationships, because it sounds so silly. Like, we just don't connect emotionally. He doesn't understand me, and I can't understand him. And our sex life is not good. And I'm like, you guys, like, these are the same problems like literally everybody has when they break up. But you're talking about a god.
Yeah, like, I'm stuck here because he needs a purpose to like stay under, but he doesn't. We'll get into that too, the issue I have with the omniscience thing and what he does, but I'll get to that later. Internet says she was born in 1933. Oh, okay. When I was reading it, I must have been really bothered by something with them talking about their ages, because then I went diving about it. Internet says she was born in 1933. John was born in 1921 by math calculations. So she's 4 years younger. She's only 30. She'd only be 33 then. John really does like them young anyway. He does. So yeah, I think whatever it was, that maybe they said something weird about the ages, so I had to double check that. So she was actually younger than him. If he was 30 when he died, then she would have been 26.
But then he doesn't really age after that. Like, he's not aging.
Right, and I think I was fine with him being but I think it was something about, they said something about her age, and I was bothered by it. So that's why but I can't remember specifically, and I think I'm probably trying to block out this story now. So we'll
already. Wait until after the last.
I know. John knows everything that will happen. Why was he? Oh, okay. They did talk about that. Why was he taken aback by the cancer claims, though? Which I was bothered by later on too, because he's like, because that's what I did, because that is how I react to it, though. And I was,
in his issue, they bring up the idea that he's passive before he even is Dr. Manhattan. And it's an interesting conundrum in the idea that he has all this power, but because of determinism, he doesn't actually do anything. That he's actually passive.
Where do I talk about the determinism stuff? Let's put a pin in that. Because I feel like I'm gonna want to discuss that more. So let me rant about these other things too. So determinism, remember. I think you're responsible for being careless, John. What was that too? I must have said something about that he wasn't responsible because like this is, and it is a thing too. I think later on about the determinism that just because you know, like you're still responsible for things just because you know it's going to happen. That like even if you're like, well, this is what I did, like okay, but you're still bad for doing these things though, and that like that, and you have moral agency and you could like I'll still have to wait for it because I don't want to get too far into it. But I think you're responsible for being careless, John. I was criticizing him for something that but I don't remember what now. I want to love Rorschach, but he kind of sucks. We meet. Oh yeah, that was just because of the cancer of Moloch and him being mean, though. But then I do end up loving Rorschach despite that. Was Kovacs the one who came? Oh yeah. Then I was wondering, was he Rorschach? Oh, and then I was upset. I was really upset about Rorschach killing the dogs. And I am still upset by that because, like, yeah, they were eating the little girl, the bones, though, but like that wasn't their fault, though. Like they're dogs, though. It was the human that was the bad one. So Rorschach that makes me feel a little less caring about his death now. I forgot.
I know that you remember that he killed the dogs.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible because they were just like, we're chewing on bones, huh? And then like.
I love that doctor is only talking to Rorschach for 4 days.
I know.
He was like so optimistic and happy with his life.
I think like even the Joker didn't cause Harley Quinn to get crazy that fast, right?
Yeah. And then he's like so depressed and just like he's like, life is meaningless after 4 days. And Rorschach didn't even do anything to him.
He was just telling about his life.
And I love that one time he comes in, he's like, hey, Rorschach, how are you doing in prison? You. Yeah. Rorschach is a lot funnier. Like, and I don't think he's trying to be, honestly, but he makes so many hilarious jokes.
Yeah, no, that was why I'm like, oh, I was really upset with him for being like acting terribly towards people and dogs, but I also thought he was really funny. Oh, those were human bones. The dogs didn't do anything. Yeah, 13 and 1960. Oh, yeah. I had issues because it did mention it had his dream that he had that was like written when I was 13 years old, but the date was stamped at 1963, which would put him born in 1950. But it said earlier that he was born in 1940. This was Rorschach, but it specifically had born in 1940 or 41, one of those things.
And then it screwed up some dates.
Yeah, and I noticed.
Yeah, of course you did. Everyone needs someone like Beverly to check the dates and ages on their work.
Make sure things add up. Reading about birds. Oh, I was reading the Night Owl thing, like when his excerpt at the end. So I was reading all of that while I was actually bird watching outside, though, because we have a birdhouse out there, and I thought, oh, that's for the blue jays. I think they're blue birds because blue jays are bigger. But then, and I knew that there were eggs inside it though too. And then I saw while I was reading this, a bird, like the small bird that wasn't blue, but it was flying around. And then there was a blue bird, and it kind of looked like they were like sort of fighting over the house. And so then I was worried because I'm like, watch out, like there were eggs in there. So like, what is this weird bird here? So I kind of walked up toward it because the blue bird flew off over to like a little post thing. I was sitting on it, and then I went up, and then that brown bird was like swooping down at me, like it would just keep flying down. And I'm like, you seem protective, like this is surprising. And then I went back and sat down with DVD at the pond, and then I saw another bird, like a bluebird, come out of the birdhouse, and then another bluebird. There were 4 birds in the end all around here, and 3 of them are blue, and I didn't know what was going on. They're flying around, and then I go in to check, and I'm like, the nest is empty. Like there were little white eggs in here, and then I see the little white eggs on the ground, empty, like cracked open and empty though, and I was like, oh no. Then I looked up that bluebird eggs are blue and they're not white, and I'm like, whose eggs are these? think it was that brown bird. I think it probably,
Yeah.
I don't know if it built the nest or if it stole it, if the others built it and then it came in and laid eggs in there. So I think it was trying to protect it. It was too late because the eggs had already been destroyed anyway, but I think it was mad. And now there's still no eggs in there. And I'm like, is someone going to like lay eggs here? And I want to see some babies. But so that was all happening while I was reading about the night owl stuff, which I thought was fun.
What did you think of Hollis, the original night owl?
I don't think I thought too much about him. Kind of an adorable old man, though, when they get together to talk about stuff. Or should I have thought more about him?
No, I was just wondering because he seemed like the kind of like adorable old man
Yeah.
you would label adorable old man,
Yeah,
and then be upset about.
Oh, when he died, yeah, that was really awful. The gang goes in and kills him. So yeah, I was definitely upset about that death. But then it's hard to be upset just about that and Rorschach when 2 million people die too. So, but yeah, I thought he was.
So I love Night Owl 2's reaction when he finds out that Hollis was murdered. Because you expect Rorschach to be the guy who breaks fingers and stuff because he's constantly doing that, and then you see Night Owl lose his fucking shit.
Yeah, I'm glad he did. I'm like, you should. You loved him.
Yeah,
you hung out. You drank together, told stories.
He was like a father figure to Dan.
Snowstorm balls. Yeah, when Lori kept saying snowstorm balls, and I was like, snow globe? Did they call it snowstorm balls early on? I'm really glad. I don't know, it's fun to call them that, I guess, but I'm glad we changed it to globe at least. If we call them snowstorm globe, that sounds pretty badass. Snow globe is fine though, but it was just snowstorm balls.
I know she kept saying that. I was like, was that the only one you'd ever seen?
Yeah.
The rest of your life, you never saw another one. No one ever talked about that.
It was traumatic for her. And then she dropped it, and then they didn't exist anymore. They started calling them snow globes, and she's like, what the fuck is this? I knew pretty early. Oh, I did write it. I knew pretty early on Lori would be comedian's daughter. What if John just didn't do? Yeah, this is part of the determinism thing, and I think I wrote more later on. What if John just didn't do what he saw would happen? He could make a different choice because I get he has this is the thing. It's just weird to me to be. Hello, Luna. I didn't realize you were in here. No, we'll save it. Never mind. Hold on. Book of Revolutions. Oh yeah, someone did say that. I was like, I'm gonna assume that that's just supposed to be a dumb, it was a person there just saying something though, this is from the Book of Revolutions that the world is ending or something though. Not a typo, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I did say, I forget where this was written, and it might have been an excerpt thing at the end, but it said foreign adversaries. Someone wrote that. Yeah, someone typed it, but it was adversaries was misspelled. I left the first R out. And then the out civilization. Maybe that was Adrian. Maybe he did both of those. What? Gloria sucks. Just gonna let that woman beat up that other woman. Yeah, that was pretty awful. But hey, whatever. They all died immediately after that. So,
I felt sorry for the two Bernies during this, because we've been following the two Bernies the entire time.
The newspaper people.
That's the newspaper vendor and the little the black boy who's reading the pipe.
How old he was supposed to be?
He was supposed to be maybe 14, I think.
Okay. I could not tell just with how the artwork is done. I was like, is he
I know. That's why I said Gribbins is not great at anything that isn't a man. He's just
everyone just looks like adult men.
And I don't think it's stylized choice. I think it's a failure of skill. Just telling you, I think it's an inadequacy of skill.
Okay.
Otherwise, composition's absolutely gorgeous. Very well done. I love the work with lighting. I thought that's some of the best work.
Then I feel better about disliking the people drawings. So why does your breath smell so bad? Oh, all right, go away. Super easy to get rid of John. Oh yeah, to just it's just I'm going to Mars. What? Okay, bye. That's all it took. How is he fast enough and hardy enough to catch a bullet? Oh,
Yeah, that was the thing. They showed it. I put it in the
you saw
Discord.
that he was fast, that he could go. But so I get. I mean, however it is, he's fast enough. I just don't get how you're hardy enough that you could stop the bullet. Like
Yeah,
what?
I know. They don't really answer. Like, Ozymandias is probably the closest one to actually being super powered. Like,
Yeah, but
after
I
Dr.
don't get
Manhattan.
how though. If no one else, like Manhattan, you makes sense. Like he's disintegrated and rematerialized himself, built himself back up. But for just it's supposed to be a human though. Like even if you're like super skilled and stuff like that, your hand, I would just think it would still like go through your hand and all that. So I didn't understand how he did that. Like, even if I can suspend my disbelief that he's super fast and almost inhuman at that, to be able to stop the bullet, I was just like, it seemed supernatural. And
Honestly, I kind of feel like Ozymandias is a Nietzsche Superman, like the Nietzsche's Superman idea, because he's supposed to be like
how so?
incredibly smart, and he's supposed to be like super intelligent and super strong and super fast. Like he's like incredibly athletic. He's in his 40s and he's doing like Olympic
Mhm.
gymnast shit on TV. Like that scene is so funny and sad at the same time. By the way,
I mean, I guess it makes sense because I'm like, if he were a bad guy, or sorry, if he were just a good guy, he would have died, and kept waiting for him to die at that moment. Like something happens to him, and the bad guy kills him while he's doing that. But because he didn't die, that makes sense that he wasn't going to be the bad guy.
yeah. And he even like honestly he killed that woman. Like she's shot by that hitman.
I know. I was thinking that
But
too. But
Ozymandias killed that woman. Like he like literally almost every death that we see in this entire thing is because of Ozymandias. He's not just the people who die on the attack at New York, but literally everybody.
Why did you say it was a sad scene? Or you mean about
When
Lori
we
and Dan? Or
yeah, with Lori and Dan trying to have sex, and poor
he
Dan
couldn't
is
set it up.
impotent.
Um,
He kept lying like constantly to himself and to everybody else about not missing his superhero days. It's like you clearly miss them and need them.
and Daredevil, where he's like, no, it's fine. Like I don't need. I'm okay. I don't need to be him anymore. By the way, I think in high school I heard the pronunciation differently, and I always liked it more than how Ozymandias is supposed to be pronounced. But so I prefer Ozymandias. I like the emphasis differently, and I know it's wrong, but I'm like, I think it sounds better to me though than Ozymandias. I like Ozymandias just sounds like a more powerful being to me. Just throwing that out there. And then I wrote, that's how it ends. What the fuck did I read this for? And then I was just ranting about a bunch of stuff about into the determinism and how the plan wasn't going to work. So peace isn't going to last long unless you keep bringing aliens in. The whole thing was pointless. Adrian is an idiot for the smartest man in the world. John is an idiot. Protecting the people from the truth doesn't matter in the long term. He would know that, especially telling Adrian it never ends. Why help by killing Rorschach? Just delays the inevitable. What's the point of being the smartest man alive if you're going to believe in stupid philosophies like the greater good and utilitarianism? Learn the truth. I think this is the idea of you learn the truth. John comes back to stop Russia from doing anything. Adrian is locked up forever. Justice. The end. If John can observe his future actions, what's physically stopping him from changing them? Agency, responsibility, meaningful choice. Moral agency means genuine capacity for moral decision making. You're missing the point. If someone says like you're missing the point, it's thematic. And I was thinking like, to me, themes aren't effective to me unless the story makes sense. The themes don't exist in a vacuum. I don't need fiction to tell me things are pointless and futile because I have reality for that. So I was just getting really ranty.
I don't think the story does tell us that it's meaningless and futile, actually. Because of the fact that we know at the end, and the story acknowledges this, that the truth is going to come out. For one thing.
Yeah, that newspaper boy didn't die.
Yep. So the frontiersman has Rorschach's journal. Night Owl, Dan actually traced literally everything straight to Adrian before it even happened, which means he's
Say
not the
too,
only one
Adrian
who could figure it out.
didn't like for the smartest man in the world. You didn't like cover your tracks very well. But
Yeah,
maybe he's like, it doesn't matter because I can do it. Like he's maybe
like
too
how
conceited or something.
he is very conceited. He actually, that I would say that's his major flaw, and it's why. And honestly, that's
Why he's gonna get
real
caught.
people like him. That is one
Do
of their
that.
biggest
Mhm.
flaws is arrogance, because he literally names the delivery company Pyramid Deliveries,
Mhm.
and it's like everyone knows you're obsessed with Egyptian shit, dude. Like,
Yeah, like you could have named it anything else unless you're
yeah.
just delivering pyramids, which is what I kept thinking for a while.
But yeah, like literally, you like if Dan can trace everything to Adrian, other people are going to be able to do this too. So to my mind, I think the book ends here, but it basically makes it absolutely clear that this does not
He's not gonna
work.
get, which is goes back to why bother killing Rorschach then though? Like this, it's gonna come out anyway, and John knows. And then I'm bothered by the determinism thing. Like, what would happen if John chose differently? Like he knows and he sees this is gonna happen, but like, okay, but what if you like there's nothing physically stopping you? Like, what if you just made a different choice? How does that affect your omniscience? Do things change? Is like there's only one thing way of it happening at all. But why can there only be that? Because once you know something, then like at least like in the MCU, despite all of the flaws of the time travel and stuff too, like at least even Doctor Strange, like he says, like if he tells Tony what which way to go, it won't happen. Like if you know it's not going to happen. So I think that makes sense to me though too. Like if you know how things will play out though, but like nothing is like
It's
forcing you to do that though. Like I would say that like, you still have moral agency and personal agency to like be able to make a different choice. So it
yeah.
does make sense to me.
Well, and I think part of the problem is that John is already a passive person before he becomes
And
Dr.
maybe that's
Manhattan.
that like that he just stops being like you just go with the flow. Like this is what happens. I just do this thing and I don't because I'm like I'm I'm way too not even just like a what was the contrarian or like uh, I need to test things to find out though. So like because I it's the thing like I need to know. So then if I wonder and I would have the question too though like and how do you have a scientific mind if you don't question things though? So you see like this is what happens though too like okay, but what happens if and
Yeah.
then I would need to test it out to find out. So I feel like then he's just a bad scientist if he's like, "No, I will just do this thing because this is the thing that I do."
Well, he's so passive that he lets his dad drive him into a physics career in the first place. I would say that Dr. Manhattan's problem isn't that he can see everything. His problem is that he's not a very active agency minded
He's so
person.
unlikable too, though.
It
That
is very unlikable. And because imagine Rorschach with Dr. Manhattan's powers. The results are completely different.
right? Yeah, he'd be just annihilating like I think Adrian wouldn't need to do a thing. Rorschach would be like the most feared person that like he would crack down on crime so hard. Like I wouldn't agree with everything he would do, but at least like he would be effective in the same
Which
a
is
similar way to Adrian.
Rorschach at the beginning of the whole series like has he shows that he has a very fatalistic mindset where he's all like, oh, the politicians and whores will be drowning in the blood in shit filled gutters and they'll look up and beg for me to save them and I'll say no. He has this very very negative outlook on all of life and all of humanity.
Who? Sorry,
But
is this Rorschach?
Rorschach, but he's still trying to change things.
Mhm.
He's still working to like if he literally had a completely fatalistic nihilistic personality, he'd be more like Dr. Manhattan in the fact that he wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't try to do anything. But he's like it's sort of weird, but he has this concept that the world is so fucked, but I can still do a little bit of something, and it's not because I'm going to change the world that I have to do something. It's because it's the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And that's why people like Rorschach.
Right,
Like,
because oh, go ahead.
he sees the darkness in the world, but he sees that it's overwhelming, but he still tries to do something about it.
I think I mean, so much of it, like the greater good thing, is already like the total opposite of my moral framework, and like it's utilitarianism and all that, and I guess you're right though that too, that like in the end, the truth was going to come out. But I think it's still upsetting though, because it's like what all the main characters went through, like all this stuff at the end was still pointless though too. Like really, they didn't need to go there at all. They could have stayed alive. And Rorschach just sends in that thing, and then like and everything would have played out the same way, and the truth would have come out, and they would just be fine and alive. So because like going, I guess maybe that's what it was. It was pointless to go to talk. You just learn what Adrian's plan was, but like going there was no reason for it except Rorschach's death was the only thing that came of that. And I think that's what bothers me the most about it. But back to the shoot, I got distracted talking about Rorschach. Everything would have played out that way. Sorry, what was your last point that you were saying?
That Rorschach is fatalistic, but still knows it's the right thing to try to do something.
Because I mean, I feel like I think there's a lot of bad people in the world, and I mean, I don't have confidence in systems, including like governments and stuff, staying in power forever, because I think humans are going to destroy it and things will fall apart though. And it's like such a dark thing to say, but I'm not trying to say it as like a end of the world. I just think that is just human nature, and that it's going to be a sucky thing. And I'm not saying it as like to be a downer. I just see it as like a realistic thing. But do I not think that we should still try and like as individuals care? Like I think that there's intrinsic value in an individual, so like that matters more, and why I don't like the greater good. And so like in trying,
that's Rorschach versus
and so why I mean, I think Rorschach is a little too much,
too harsh. It's more like what he would think is the right thing versus the wrong thing, versus his integrity to push the right thing. You guys just maybe don't agree always on what the right thing is.
Because like he has a more like initiate use of violence where I use of force, where I don't think, then like, no, I don't think that's right. But I also understand where you're like, if they're already like physically threatened, like that part's okay, but then like you're just like going and meeting them, like, yeah, they might be shady people, but again, Moloch had done his time. So like I disagree with that. But
how many times did he break fucking Dan's lock on his door?
I know.
Twice. And then when the cops broke it down later on, like in issue, like I think that was in 8 and 9, when the cops broke his door down, I was like, Dan should just stop replacing that lock.
Like, why would you, with all of the stuff you have down in your basement and things though too, I would think that you would be able to get a better quality locks and doors.
Although at the same time, if you got like a really, really good quality lock, then that's just suspicious. What are you hiding?
Right, but if you can never, if it's impenetrable, then it doesn't matter what you're hiding. So if you have like an unbreakable door thing that you can't get in, I would just make your whole wall like unbreakable. But yeah, so that's why I definitely agree with Rorschach overall. But like, because I do think like, despite humanity having flaws and everything, I do think that like that doesn't mean we just give up and not try to like be good people and stuff though. Like I'm not going to be a jerk to everyone, even if I think the country's probably going to fall apart. But
and I did see that some like, and he doesn't have a lot of sympathy for the people who are not doing bad things but aren't fighting to do good things either. Like when it comes to the therapist, he's like, you think you're a good person, but you're not, because you're not doing anything. Like you're literally just going along to get along.
Do you think, because he was criticizing too that you're doing this for like fame and stuff, that you're talking to, so do you think
selfish
might have, if he were just genuinely like, I'm a therapist who's trying to, I mean, like, let's look in The Punisher too, that therapist there, like she's kind of fallen along the same like Harley Quinn lines. But I mean, and I'm not super far into it. I think I'm like episode 5 or 6 though, but it's like, getting really sketchy. But someone who like, I'm doing this because I think it's the right thing to do, to try, like, I want to try and help you, and I care about trying to help broken people put themselves, like, get fixed.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have a problem with that guy. Like, if someone who authentically wanted to help him, he would probably go, I think you're going about it the wrong way, but, he wouldn't question their integrity, I don't think.
But then Mal also, I mean, like, he cared enough to try and like fix, like, he was very optimistic in trying, which I think was kind of silly, but he was optimistic about trying to fix Rorschach. What didn't he say too, that he thought he was making progress, and look at these plots and stuff too, and I'm like, it's been like 4 days and you think you're making progress with him?
Well, and then he said he was optimistic, quickly followed by this sentence, if I am successful, this will make my career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so he was so upset. I get where Gloria would be upset by someone, by like your spouse, taking your work home and being obsessive about it though too. After that's why I'm like, I think it's awful when like, hey, there's fights breaking out behind us right now, let's go help them. Like, no, you better not, because we're like that's your way to invest. I'm like, no, that makes sense. It hurts when you're like too obsessive about it at home, when you should be like not doing that, and you be spending time.
You need to leave your work at work.
Yeah. And I get sometimes you might have, but like it's just the work-life balance. Then you need to make sure that like you're balancing it well enough that your people in your life aren't feeling neglected. So clear that. But like, to help someone behind you, I would be upset by like, no, go help that person. Maybe I should help too, but I'm a coward and weak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and in that issue, Rorschach explains about Kitty Genovese, which is a real person, and the New York Times, I think, wrote an article about Kitty Genovese, and it's where the bystander effect idea comes from, that no one helped this woman, and literally that's not true. It's a fucking lie. The whole article was a lie. The bystander effect apparently is real. Like, I do think that this is a real thing that happens. In fact, there was a recent case wherein a man was going down an escalator, fell at the bottom, and his clothes got sucked in, and like he was stuck there for 20 minutes. And so many people passed him. No one helped him.
Really?
No one helped him. He died.
Thank God.
Yeah, because I think it like strangled him. His clothes strangled him. And I'm like, there's an emergency stop button at the bottom where he's at.
Final Destination too, or like,
yeah, it is. And it's like literally all those people walked by him and they didn't press the emergency stop.
Was he like calling for help and they didn't?
He couldn't. He was. He's on the ground at the bottom of the escalator. People literally went, oh, there's a person at the bottom of the escalator, and went over to the stairs to take those down instead. And he's just laying there that whole time.
Because I would think that, like, I understand a little bit when you're like, oh, something's weird there, so I want to like stay away from it. But then you would, curiosity, people are going to look and then see like, hey, what's he doing? And then maybe notice that he's suffocating and being strangled by it. But I guess I'd need to see like what it looked like, unless it just looked like, is he like a crazy person or something though? That's being weird there.
His clothes were like his abdomen, like all of his clothes were gone because
I would think that was a crazy person. Like, why is he naked? but I would guess that you're like struggling, like you're trying that, like, that maybe you can't speak.
Your face changes colors as you're strangled. So like it'd be kind of like, maybe they're in distress.
So I don't get. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that the mob effect and stuff too. So I don't think that has to just be like angry, but like it could be maybe it's the sheep effect where like you just kind of keep going along with everyone else though too. But like I mentioned, I think in the Discord before, that when I went to see Wicked in Pittsburgh, then like, and we had one of our old ladies in our group, like she fell down, like we just came down the stairs and then she took a tumble, like fell into the side. But like so many non-members of our party kind of like came over to help out though too, and to check on her and all that. And so I thought that was very heartwarming to like see like, people helping out this old lady. And I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's anything I've never maybe if something did happen and I didn't notice, it's because I didn't notice a thing was happening though, but,
Yeah.
which could be bad. Maybe I was just one of those people who were just like, "Well, I'm not paying." If something is apparent and noticeable, like, I would like to think that I would help out in situation I do it with animals though too. I would like to think I'd do it for a person, and if I
No,
don't help, that's because I just didn't notice that it was a thing.
yeah, like sometimes, yeah, you just don't notice, and that's fine. But I remember I was being driven to work, and I was in the passenger seat, and literally like at an apartment, like just seeing all this black smoke come out of one window. Immediately pulled out my phone and called 911 because I'm like, I think that apartment is on fire.
Yeah.
And told them where it was and everything. And like I've done that many times where I'm like, I think something is happening. Like, and I remember I was walking to work one day and I was not looking up when this happened, but there was a car accident and a van skidded out and faced the wrong direction. It like landed like right next to me. Like if it had hopped the curb, it would have been on the sidewalk with me. And like their airbags released and everything, and I knocked on the window and I was like, are you okay? Like I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do beyond call for
Oh.
help if they need it, but they were okay. Luckily.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was on the freeway. I don't remember if it was just saw the car. There was at one point there were just so many car. I was like every time we get on the freeway, there was some sort of car accident that around. Like, I don't know if I watched the car go off the road or something, but it was on the other side though too though. So it was like, well, we're on here. There wasn't like a ton that you could do, and but maybe it was. I don't think I watched it happen. I think it's hard for me to sometimes I don't remember stuff in real life versus TV. So like but I think what I've already seen, there's always just been like help on scene anyway. But
Yeah.
I think
I
the
know
one
I was on the freeway for like someone was taking me to visit my family on Thanksgiving or something, and it's like one of the cars and like and there were not a lot of cars on the road, so it wasn't like bumper to bumper traffic or anything. We were all going really fast. And this woman starts hanging out of this car in the passenger side, like and like seems like she's screaming. I immediately called the police. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this is going to cause an accident, or she's like trying to escape a
yeah,
kidnapper or something. I don't know. Like, I never heard what happened there, by the way, but I
yeah.
did call the cops because I was like, clearly something is bad is
Or
happening.
she's just a crazy, like,
Yeah, she could just be a crazy
yeah.
person.
Um, hmm. With Bandit, the dog too that I hit though, like
Yeah.
a lot of people stopped. I mean, they cared less once they found out it was a dog that was injured though, but like there were people who stopped by to check like, is everything okay here? And then others
Yeah.
who did like actually because they'd just be driving up and then keep going, but others who did stop to try and like help out and like look for it. So like that was really heartwarming too though. That
But I get your point. If you can see that people have already stopped and are trying to help and everything, not stopping yourself, like you're checking and you're like, okay, it's handled. I don't need to be the
right,
other
because
person involved in this.
yeah, because I think you
Partially
mentioned it in
because,
the Discord, there might be
yeah,
too many people, like, there's
yeah,
at one point, there's, like, too many cooks in the kitchen, like, what can you do? And you're just in
exactly.
the way.
Yeah, like at a certain point, you're just going to be in the way of the crisis. Like if
Mhm.
there's already people helping, and
Which is why
especially
that's what
once,
I did at the old lady too, though, that I'm like, there were so many people helping her, I'm like, "I'm just gonna stay, like, and wait around," like, others were in the bus already, but then, like, there were a couple of us that like, "Well, we'll be nearby, so but we're not gonna be up directly with her because other people are taking care of her."
yeah, exactly. Like you have to make sure that you're not getting in the way either.
Mhm.
But yeah, like he has this like horrible Rorschach has this horrible feeling because of the Kitty Genovese thing, and honestly, that newspaper article that when it released about Kitty Genovese was like really depressing to a lot of people. They thought they lost a lot of hope in humanity when they read
It was
it.
just a lie? Like, so
It
like,
was a
some
lie. Lots of people called the police. She didn't die alone. Like she literally, I think she died in her friend's arms or something like that. Like
oh, she's
it was
died?
not. She
Oh,
did
sad.
die. It is. She was attacked, but people called the cops. Like it wasn't. They didn't just like watch it happen. People called for help. So like a lot of people talk. I posted an article about how it was a lie, and they explain what really happened with the bystanders in the Kitty Genevieve's case. But a lot of shit like this came out in the 80s that was like super super negative, and I think that's part of the reason why Watchmen as a graphic novel even exists, is because of how fucking dark and fatalistic a lot of people were during the 80s. Like, this is not something like, everything's going great. And, crime was horrible in New York in the 80s, like absolutely terrible. And that's one of the reasons why, like, in this graphic novel, there's so much crime in New York, and it's so bad. And so to me, crime went down in the 90s in New York, by the way. It's already back up, but it was pretty, it peaked in the 80s pretty hard.
I knew it was really bad before. I thought it was known to be better, like in modern times, but it's gotten worse again.
It's gotten worse again. So a lot of cities' crime rates were trending down since the 80s. Like just pretty well and everything, and then around 2020, crime started going back up. In
that makes sense.
A lot of cities, the crime started going back up.
Sorry, I'm just reading about Kitty Genevieve's now.
Yeah.
Huh. This is late at night too.
Yeah, it was.
I don't get. It's one thing to like want to rape someone. I don't get stabbing them first and then raping them.
Yeah.
Are you like a necrophile or?
Well, serial rapists tend to move on to serial killing,
Huh. But yeah, so overall with Watchmen, didn't like, wouldn't recommend.
One of the things that I do like, and I thought you would like this about it though, is that so many of the things people say, the dialogue and even like the pirate stuff, is like double entendre for what is being shown to you in a panel. So like for example, when the cops are looking at Eddie Blake's murder scene and everything, and they get on the elevator and they say ground floor, and the guy goes ground floor coming up, and the panel we're seeing for that dialogue is Eddie Blake falling from his window. Yeah. So and that shit is throughout the entire thing, where they juxtapose this like normal dialogue with this thing that's happening that's related. For example, the part where Ozymandias is doing his
the acrobatic stuff, and
while Lori and Dan are trying to have sex and it's not working. I thought that the whole Dan being impotent thing was maybe a little bit too on the nose, though, when he said he literally felt impotent. I was like, yeah, you didn't need to say that out loud. Yeah. We could tell that you were driftless, and that you were drifting and had no idea what you wanted to do, and then also you couldn't get it up. Like, we didn't need to hear that you were impotent.
I feel like I would rather have the scene have with like if you're going to do the like he's doing acrobatics, like, and he's stuck the landing and stuff like that too. But I would want that person to fail at doing that, so then that like Dan is failing, that it mirrored it rather than opposited it.
It's opposite because of the fact that Ozymandias is still a man with power and
right.
No,
and I get that
not impotent. Yeah,
I think I just mean like even if it maybe it's not him. Like, I get that you wanted to use him as the character and stuff too, but I think I would just like it more if it was like someone who's trying to do accurate. Like, maybe it's the person he's like competing, if he's competing with someone though, and then you're showing that person while Dan is trying to have sex and like, oh, you didn't stick the landing. Oh, you couldn't quite make that flip and couldn't get it up all the way. Like, so I think I would find that more humorous to have it there.
Yeah.
I
love how like immediately non-impotent he is though the second he
so it's like, save people.
Let's go. I'm good to go.
Which I'm wondering too, like, does he always need it on? Like, is that the only way that he's going to feel like he can't feel?
No, I think it was more potent. The idea. I don't think it's the costume necessarily as it is the sense of having a handle on life and things around him.
I mean, like at the end they're like in hiding. So.
Yeah, that's true. But he's the one who set up those identities too.
That's right, with the ship storyline thing, all that. I really was not into that though. Like it was just boring for a lot of it. That I'm like, here's just this extra dialogue of the stories like that. I'm like, I don't know. I get that I was trying to have the point in it, but I was just like, this is so boring for us. I was trying to like, all right, let me read through this. It was interesting though, with like, that the writer, like he went missing, all these people went missing, like, wow, this is a movie we're making, it's so secretive, like, why do they and then the ship just gets blown up and stuff. Wow, those people are like, oh, my husband is just so awful and I can't do it. Like, I'm so glad I have you here, and boo, it just explodes.
By the way, I don't blame the writer for not saying that they were about to blow up, because it's like, there's seconds left. There's nothing that they can do. Why, like, let her die in ignorance instead of fear. Like, she's gonna die anyway. Right. I was like, I completely understand that idea, because it's literally seconds.
What if she survives though? And you could have given me a warning.
When you're right next to it, you're not surviving.
Yeah. Maybe she has superpowers, or maybe it gave her superpowers.
You know what? If they had 20 minutes, I would see, like, let's get the fuck off of here now!
Jump off and swim as far as you can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it was less than a minute. I was like, there's no way. You're not getting anywhere.
I would just, keep going at it then. We've got a minute left. All right, let's finish up.
One last orgasm for the road.
Yeah.
By the way, when I there's that part when they break Rorschach out of the prison, and they're like, is that Rorschach? Like, Night Owl and Silk Spectre, I think that's him. And he's like, yeah, he's walking like him. And I was like, he is walking like him, because Rorschach always carries himself almost the exact same way. He like sticks his hands in his pockets and leans back slightly. And it was like, yeah, that's his posture. It's just he's not wearing the trench coat and the pinstripe suit. And then like and they're like, hey, are we interrupting anything? We kind of gotta go. And he's like, gotta go to the bathroom first. What?
This way to break you out? And he's like, you gotta go. You gotta go.
What does that sound? He's literally killing a figure in there.
Yeah,
and everyone. I do not blame him for throwing the hot fat in that guy's face, because that guy was gonna stab him.
He was gonna kill him. Yeah, like totally fine. It was self-defense. And he's 100%. Just really creative, which I like. Yes. Was it Dan who was like, this is too clean for to shoot Moloch? Though I'm like, this isn't Rorschach. It's too clean. Like, it is. He would do so many.
Like, no one knows Rorschach as well as Dan does. So if Dan says he didn't do this, like, yeah, he's probably right. One of my favorite. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I'm bothered, but like they have a whole thing that like we're friends and stuff. Like Dan and Rorschach care about each other, and you don't even get to see Dan be upset about Rorschach's death and mad at John. Like I feel like that is missing out there. Like you're mad about Hollis. And then Rorschach was your partner for a long time, and you like even if you're distant now, like you were getting closer, it got better, and they would have learned eventually. Like Rorschach disappeared what happened to him. Like they would need to find out or you go out to the ship there where like, here's just an exploded body. Like I wanted to see them react to it.
Yeah, I know. So especially like Dan would be upset. Like I think Rorschach and Dan was aware of this, was always cruising towards a very violent end.
Oh yeah, for
going
sure.
to happen at some point, yeah. But it's absolutely,
but not to John, not to the most powerful being in the universe that can literally just zap you into billions of pieces. Like that. Like that's not the ending I wanted.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But one of my favorite parts, though, is when Dan and Rorschach are in Adrian's office, and Rorschach just won't shut up. He's just going on and on about his conspiracy theory and all these things. Meanwhile, Dan's like looking at a pyramid on Adrian's desk going, and then like he breaks into his computer. Rorschach is still talking.
He's still going.
And I'm like,
Ramses too.
Dan figures it out while Rorschach is busy like just jabbering. He's like not even listening to Rorschach. He's so used to this.
Him just rambling on, yeah. And then like, oh, you know, I like that team. And I wanted more of it if John didn't just kill him instantly.
I know. And Rorschach was always kind of off, as Dan put it, but never as off as he was after that little girl was murdered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so much about Rorschach's chapter, the issue with the therapist, that is about women. And he has a very like fucked up, distorted attitude towards mothers, and his mother was horrible. Like she's a terrible person, and it completely scarred Rorschach.
And I was so annoyed by the landlady too, saying that, and I was just like, ugh, I hate.
I know he
don't add on top of like make up things though, like that.
Yeah, which is like Rorschach finds gets the thing that makes his mask, which was a dress, from his job at a dressmaker, at a women's garment factory. That was like where he gets it. And then the place wherein Rorschach becomes Rorschach and is no longer Walter, where he finds that the little girl was killed, is a abandoned dressmaker filled with women's figurines. You know, the dressmakers figures for women.
Mannequin.
One of the last things he sees as it burns down is one of those figures blackening. The last thing he says before he becomes Rorschach is mother. That's the literal last word he says as Walter. And it's like, this is very good writing because it's actually much subtler than a lot of people do, but it's still there enough that I can pick up on it. Like I have to list it out, but like it's all like separated out enough that it's not obvious. And I like it, honestly. Like I know it's like, oh, maybe some feminists would call it misogyny or whatever, and it's like, no, bad mothers fuck people up.
No.
This is very obvious. And he didn't have a dad. And like literally the therapist says that he has some fantasy about what his dad was. He says it in the first issue, like good men like my father. He doesn't know who his father is. That's like a weird psychosis that Rorschach has, that he has a good father. He has no father. He has no idea what his father was like. He was probably just one of his mother's Johns, honestly. Like, so he's clearly one of the most messed up individuals in the entire thing, but he's also the most likable because...
I say second to Adrian.
Second to Adrian, yeah. The problem with Adrian is that he's so functional that... He's so, like, because Rorschach is so dysfunctional. Like, he stinks. And, like, people, like, he walks around like a freaking hobo constantly and everything. Yeah. He's so dysfunctional versus Adrian's highly functional, employs millions of people, you know, is physically healthy and all this stuff, but definitely, like, a horrible human being, like one of the worst human beings ever.
I think compared to Rorschach, did Rorschach kill 2 million people?
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
he's got one up on you, Adrian.
Yeah, I know. And it was like Rorschach's the better person than Adrian. Adrian is highly functional, psycho, versus Rorschach that's highly dysfunctional, but highly integrity based, like insanely integrity based. Like it's actually, they're really great mirrors of each other. And then but fucking, because they're not, they're like opposite ends of what you would expect.
Actually, I think this is the same way I feel about Death Note. Did you ever watch that? Did we ever do it first? I can't remember if we did it for a stream.
We've not done that for a stream, but I do know, it pisses me off, like that L does not win, like he should.
Yes,
that's what they do in the movie, the live action movie. They have him win.
And is it the Japanese one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not the Netflix live action.
No. I've only watched the Japanese live action.
Which I still need to watch it because that is why the anime failed me, I think, though, because like L that should not have died mid-series, and then you bring in these random things, like no, like that. If anything, that he could maybe get knocked down a bit, like something happens to him and puts him out of commission, and then comes back and wins or something, though, too. But to kill him off was such a bad call.
Those are Sherlock Holmes of the series, and was way smarter than our villain, who was our main character, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who has a theory that the movie ending, the Japanese live action ending, was the intended ending from the writer.
Really?
Originally.
Oh, but did he have to keep the story going or something?
He had to keep the story going. That it was intended that that was the intentional ending that the writer wanted to do, but then either he was told that he needed to keep writing it, or he decided he was making too much money and kept writing it himself. But either way, honestly, keep writing it was a mistake. I understand that it was a success. I understand that it was making a lot of money, but it leaves a sour taste in the mouth, and it's not good writing. I would rather make less money and be remembered for being a better writer and moving on to my next project, that people are like, oh, this is the writer of the person who wrote this great thing that I love that ends great, than be the writer who continued it with a bad ending. Like, honestly, like, it absolutely, I'm sorry, I think the work should come before the money.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking, I'm watching the last season of My Hero Academia, and I was surprised that there are only 170 episodes. I mean, it's still a decent amount, but it's just, how anime can be, and it feels like there's been so much story to it. I would have thought like, oh, maybe like 300 episodes. So I was like, and then when I was telling my one friend who really loves it, and he was like, yeah, like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is only like 64 episodes. It's like, is it real? Like, because there's so much storyline to there too, but they were able to tell this like good story in 64 episodes because it followed the manga a lot more than the original. Which,
it's like we've been saying about these Marvel Netflix shows, is that most of them are too long. They go on too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that a company wants to option a certain number of episodes or a certain number of issues. I get it. I absolutely understand that concept. But at the same time, do you want to put out a shitty product?
I think
just because it's longer?
If you know I mean, let's say that like, hey, we want this to be 5 seasons long. Okay, let me write a story that makes sense for 5 seasons. But that is what we're doing. Like, once that ends, like the story is done. Like, I don't want to keep going because then everything ends up like you have so much that can go downhill. And I was thinking about that too. But there are a lot of things that I do love in later seasons. But a lot of people, I would think that like overall, like the story, it becomes like, oh, it's just kind of, even if you like each season, even if you like particular episodes, you can kind of feel like this just goes on forever. Like this is their life forever, though. And I'm torn because there are things like I love the characters of like, I want to keep seeing stuff, but then I also get that like, well, maybe there's a point where like it's going to fall apart because like there's only so many stories to really tell without it getting repetitive and things too and all that. So I think that Did you say ridiculous?
Yeah.
I mean, I also love ridiculous things too. Like I always think of Boy Meets World, where like Eric is insane and later and like weird stuff just like I don't know. I'm all about those. Like, so it, like I said, like I get torn between like maybe I could still enjoy it and have fun with it, but I think that your storytelling is not like you have like a solid story to tell, and I think that will be like you have a tight story, wink, that will be very solid. And then if you go past that, it might be fun and stuff, but like it's gonna like degrade. Like it's not gonna be as quality overall. Like I guess more in an objective way of looking at it. So I can enjoy both, but I think I could probably say like I appreciate a more condensed thing, like to as quality though, even if I will have fun with like ongoing things. But
well, that's kind of one of the reasons why I like romance novel series is because we see like scenes with previous leads in the like next books when you see
it's a series that it's like same world but different love interest or
people.
something. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So
I like the same universe.
that's how so many romance series work. Like the majority of them work that way, where it's like book 1 is about this couple, book 2 is about this couple, book 3 is about this couple, and this is how they're all related. They all exist in the same world. And so when you go to book 2, you see scenes with characters from book
like
1.
Christmas movies, sequels and stuff too.
Yes, yes.
Like or like, oh hey, this might be. I mean, I'm
They're
okay
probably
too.
taking that from the romance books.
And I wouldn't mind too, like this is the same couple, but like here's just instead of about how do we get together, like here's the next. But sequels are you have to be so careful. But like it's not about them getting together. It's about how do we function, like maybe something else that like the new problem of like living together be like it's that
I usually find those boring. Like honestly, I almost never finish those books in romance.
That's why I think they're probably not done well. I think there's the possibility of doing it but it probably same thing for like most. Here's the story of like a main character of anything, like here a hero character who like grows and like you've had this growth. Then the sequel is like, well, he's already grown. How do we make so it's not about the growth of the characters, which like the first book of a romance couple, maybe it's about your internal conflicts of how you get together. Then the sequel would have to be here's an external conflict of something that maybe it's not a couple of like them having issues. Maybe it's we as a unit are having trouble somewhere else. So it might not be as much of a romance, I guess, though. But I'm just thinking in the world of it, of how would I continue these characters going on. But maybe you would do it as in like maybe the characters in that one are matchmakers into other ones. So like it's still involving them or something into other
one
people.
of the things that romance novelists really love to do is sequel series where the children of the people from the original series are getting together. So
anime stuff loves that.
Yeah, and the thing is like, okay, so the most famous series that is romance, but it's kind of like baby's first dark romance is 50 Shades of Grey, right? The first one is they don't actually like resolve all of their conflicts in that one. The second one, they resolve all of their conflicts and get together as a couple. That's what happens there. So then the third one, they're already married, and I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. And I'm like, what is the point of this story then? Like, I feel like aren't they done? Why is there a third novel?
I guess that is like Twilight then too, where you have about them getting together and then they broke apart in the second, like because he left, and then they get back together. The third one, what is this third?
The third one.
No, the third one is the book. Sorry, I was thinking that there was a fourth one, but I was just talking to the Ginger about that. The third one is where they are together and married, and then have the baby. And
no.
There are four.
There are four.
That's it. Okay, because that's what I was saying first, and the Ginger's like, no, there's
no. He's wrong. There's four because it's Twilight, so that's the
New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn.
That's Breaking Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we watched all the movies for bad
blanking them out. So what's Eclipse about?
So Eclipse is the guy that they killed in book 1 who was trying to kill her. His mate is trying to kill her.
So it is the girl. Okay. And then the movies, they replaced the actress.
The story of of like what's going on actually. Like that's the plot, right? That's the inciting incident and the plot and everything of Eclipse. But the actual like conflict of the relationships is that Bella is in a love triangle.
Oh, the
That
love triangle.
Jacob is in love with her.
Because the second book, Edward's very like it's more
No,
about
she spends all her time with Jacob. Yeah.
And then the third book is the love triangle there,
Yes.
and then the fourth book is they're together, but the baby, and the impending war.
Yes,
about
exactly.
it. So, I mean, despite quality of writing and story wise of it all, does that work for you as far as like a plot of like, hey, this is a real, but it's not about.
She actually managed to solve the problem that most romance authors cannot solve when it comes to following the same couple. She literally actually managed to do it, which is like probably one of the best things about her writing. Other than that, it's all really shit.
Yeah, but like, conceptually, like it makes sense that like, hey, we're still struggling. Like this is not a happy ending until we get like, and then afterward, like now we finally made it to the happy, but there's always like continuous problems into it. And I think that makes sense too, that even once you're married and stuff, that like, what other issues are there? Like, oh, it's still like, well, I want to be a vampire. Well, now I'm pregnant. And how do we deal with this? Like the fallout of that and how it affects the vampire world and stuff too. So like, yeah, like I think it decent plot of at least as far as that goes.
I actually really liked the part in Breaking Dawn when we follow Jacob's perspective, because we get to see how the wolves like interact with each other. Yeah, I was like, this is actually pretty interesting. But mostly those books are not what I would call good.
Yeah, I read it when I was 17 and for a reading competition.
Really? I was in college and I was home visiting, and I just saw it on the shelf in Barnes and Noble, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. You know, the cover is beautiful. The covers were simple but interesting covers. And I was really into vampires at the time, so I was like, I'll read this in my free time. And then I read all 4 of them, and I gave them to a family member because I was like, I started, I was like, Dad, they were okay. And I did read the first 2 50 Shades, started the third, and was like, there's no, like, there's nothing driving this forward right now. Like I was literally like 3 chapters in and there was like nothing happening. And I was like, I just don't see why I'm reading this.
And yet I would still, I mean, we were talking about it beforehand, how like Asian media, they like to, here's the long epilogues though, where I'm like, I would still read a bunch of like stories and stuff to like without conflict. So I guess not stories. I would read a bunch of anecdotes of things without conflict though, of just to see like, but I want to see what happens in like, you know, the few, like let it play out. And I don't care if there's not really struggles there. I just want to see like, I want to sit in the happy ending for a while though too.
Yeah. And I agree with sitting in the happy ending. Actually, I do. I think that's a smart thing that like Koreans and Japanese do with their fiction. I think it's a smart decision, because people are like it's so uplifting to be able and comforting to be able to sit in the happy ending. I don't want to sit in the unhappy ending like at all. When unhappy endings happening, I'm like, okay, all right, now you just
move on. Yeah.
Fucking end this. But then like, but happy endings, we want to extend them. We want to like.
So then I wouldn't mind like, I mean, Solo Leveling had like, I like the idea of like, here's just a bunch of side stories that like, but each one is like different perspectives and different things and within it too. And I like that. So. But it is a lot of it too, because it's the last book is like majority of side story and epilogue. So
their books are really short, though. Honestly, like I feel like I'm breezing through them. I'm on 3 now already, so I don't feel like I'm. And they're not really. The reason why I say that though is because I don't really consider them separate books, because they don't actually have beginning, middles, and ends within themselves.
That's why it does feel like they kind of like arbitrary places of where the volumes end, though, and even like with the
Yeah.
last one too, where like the story the main story is like 4 chapters, and then like here's like 6 hours of just a bonus story and epilogue that like it's the first like 2 hours of main storyline and 6
Well,
hours of
compared to the rest of the thing, since it's all one giant story, that's actually like a decent percentage for like
for
epilogue.
everything. Yeah, totally fair.
Yeah.
But it's just like because of how it's separated in volumes, it just seems a little jarring and how that's done. But I would say because I think it was a web novel, so then he's posting it like chapters, like he probably wasn't seeing it as like I'm writing this out to be done in this way. You just have to choose like how are we going to separate these, and just so you kind of have to make that choice.
I mean, I feel like technically this whole thing could be like solo leveling could all just be one file if you wanted it to be, instead of broken out into volumes. It'd be more like those Stormlight Archive novels.
Yeah, it's already 45 hours for one. This one could be 64 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that it could just be one chunk, like instead of broken up like this. I don't necessarily think it's necessary to break it up like it is.
I wonder, I don't know when it got like published, like maybe the manhwa came out first or something, like maybe it got like more paperback, and then when they published the light novel from the web, that maybe they were trying to like match it up more. I'm not sure how things got done from that. It's hard when it's like it starts as a web novel and then it takes on different media and gets published.
Yeah, it does make it harder. But yeah, like I have no problem with sitting in our happy endings for an extended period of time. My problem is that you cannot publish just we're sitting in the happy ending as a novel and say this is the third novel in a trilogy.
I would probably do it as like, don't call it a novel, but like maybe here's like you could still publish it, but like maybe here's this book of side stories or like like that you are aware of, that this is like you're not getting a full on storyline. You're just getting the like here's different things.
Don't lie to me and tell me it's a novel and it just be like the epilogue. and like that is kind of a marketing issue, and I'm wondering if the people who published the 50 Shades of Grey thought that like, oh, if we say it's a trilogy and we publish this third one,
because people love trilogies. Do you think that it was mostly just like happy ending?
It didn't feel like honestly, like I waited a decent amount of time for an inciting incident and never saw one, so I didn't. And also, you have to think about what the purpose of the story is in the first place, because in genre fiction, there is usually a purpose to the story, that people are waiting for something specific, right? Like, oh, in the hero's journey, they're waiting for the hero to save the day. Well, in romance, you're waiting for the couple to get together. So once they do that in romance genre, it's kind of hard to say, now read another novel. Like because the thing is about Twilight is that it's not just romance. It's like,
that's what I was about to say, is that
fantasy.
You've got like action, and like it starts off with like, hey, this vampire is trying to kill her. Like, so it already established that it's also supernatural action.
Whereas 50 Shades, that's not the case. It's just like a billionaire in the tanks, by the way. Which, by the way, like, it is honestly, like, I've read literally every genre that exists, including like tons of subgenres, including in romance. So I have read dark romance before beyond 50 Shades, and 50 Shades is mild compared to what is out there.
Yeah, that's what I think I've heard. That I'm just trying to think again. I get that it wouldn't just be like a romance novel anymore, but maybe. I mean, like I get the idea of romance is that like it's the couple getting together is what people want to see, but like relationships don't just stop once you get together, though. So that's why like I think it still technically makes sense to have like stuff. I'm just trying to think of like, if you had a couple get together and like, okay, but the sequel is now they have a baby, or they're like stuff about the pregnancy and then having a child and dealing with that too. Like maybe there's issues with family or something and having to deal with that. And like,
I don't think you're writing romance anymore. Though.
That's what I'm right. So then I'm wondering, but that's because I'm like, technically it's still about their relationship though, so like as in like the romance of like that they have a romantic relationship. So I'm like, technically I would still say like this is about their romance because it's about the relationship, but it's not the genre of like romance anymore though. So, because there's a specific idea that comes with a romance genre is that it's about them getting together. So what would you label that if you were like, I'm gonna follow this couple and like here's the like, but you have different plots about like the relationship and stuff, then because they're just like relationship genre
in the industry, that would probably just be like, depending on how highbrow it is, it's either adult fiction, general fiction, or literary fiction.
I feel like there should be something. There should be some sort of subgenre of romance that I think it would fall under, of like ongoing relationship romance genre. Because I wouldn't mind, like, okay, like here's just the relationship is continuing, like what happens here with the couple now, and not, it might not be for everybody, but it's the kind of thing that I might be interested in seeing, like how their lives progress as they get older.
Like I said, I think most people get their satisfaction of that by series romance fiction.
Well, I'm thinking like in The Office though too, where like people got upset, like one that Jim and Pam got together at all. Though like people wanted. I have a friend like who thought like they should never. I'm like, no, it got old. Like after like 5 seasons or something. I don't want to keep saying like either get them together or don't. Like let's stop.
I hate a long-term cocked tease of will they won't they. It's on TV. It's worse on TV shows. Like TV shows are the ones that do this, and it's like, fuck you guys, get them together.
And then once they were together, then people thought it was lame then too. But I like seeing like, okay, now they're a couple and what issues do they face as a couple though too. And then like, it got lame in like season 8 when they had started getting like like I didn't want to see like actual marital problems though, but I like to see like stuff that came at them, like, okay, how do we deal with things as a couple now, and or you don't even need the drama because it's not the main focus of the show. So but I just didn't mind seeing some stuff that like and how that like, all right, how does this relationship continue now that we're stopping the will they, like they're just together, they will date. Well,
the problem, honestly, is what happens when they get couples together on shows that are not romance-based. So, like, a show that is specifically for romance, usually when the couple gets together, that's the end of the show. Right? But shows that is not the point, but that is, like, part of it, that's a major plot that is going on. Once they get the couple together, writers get confused over what they're supposed to do with this couple. So what they usually do is make one of them a bitch or something, and they ruin the relationship. You spent seasons waiting for it to happen. They did that with Felicity and Oliver on Arrow. I was like, God, why is Felicity such a bitch now? And they ruin it. They literally do ruin it, because like if you're gonna make if your show is not about romance, like that's not a thing, but it is one of your major subplots, do not have the couple be assholes once they're together. Like literally do anything else. That was the thing. Like on Friends, they were like, we're going to have Chandler cheat on Monica. And the cast said, no fucking way in hell. And then I've been seeing clips from what is that show called? The Cops, the sitcom Cops show with that takes place in New York. Why can't I remember the name of this?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yes, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The couple on that show, and I've seen clips of them after they're together, and they seem fine. Like it doesn't seem like the show made them a problem to each other after they got together.
I'd say generally no. I'm trying to think of like the specific things that they did. It was I think it was a thing of like they might have like some bickering or like small time, but it was a lot more like in comedic things of just of whatever, like maybe pranks or something on each other too, and and at the very end, it was just kind of like lifestyle choices of like what someone's becoming chief, some like again they have a baby, and like kind of how are they dealing with some of that though. But overall, like once they were together, it was like there were no like big problems that they had. I don't think it did not hurt the show at all. Like it continued to be a good show, and
they look funny together, honestly. Once they like the clips I've seen like a lot of really hilarious stuff about them being a couple, which makes me like more apt to watch it, honestly. And then another show I'd say that did not ruin the couple after they got together was Parks and Rec.
I just think that got more adorable.
Yeah, Leslie and what is his name? I can't remember his name. I remember the actor's name. I don't remember his name though.
Ben.
But when they got together, they were like very cute together, and they broke up at one point, but they got back together, and like but they were never mean to each other. And I think that's the big problem, is that they make people mean or toxic.
Right. And their breakup was very like external reasons though too, so that they still loved each other, but they were just like, well, we can't do it right. And then they couldn't stay apart because they loved each other so much. My first monitor like just went out, and I don't know why, so I had to try and guess where the top of the tab was to drag it over to my other monitor. So now you're over here, and I need to figure out
what happened.
Because the cables are down there now, and I think I probably like unplugged it or something and I bumped it. But
we don't have to have much more than, I mean, we're way off topic now, because I know you didn't like Watchmen.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Laurie though, as a character,
meh. I did not really care much about her. I wanted more Rorschach. And then
you ranked the characters that are like cared least about
Rorschach and everyone else.
Did you like Dan at all?
I was thinking, he was considering putting him like second, but like their choice at the end for Laurie and Dan, like everyone agreeing to hide the truth and stuff, though, like made them go a lot lower for me. So I don't know, I'll probably put Hollis second.
I'm sorry.
And then maybe the dogs.
Wait, we have 3 dead dogs in this comic, I think? Because Hollis's dog was also killed.
Oh my god, yeah. Put that dog above the other ones. But yes, 3 dead dogs.
Because it didn't eat a human.
I'm still not even gonna blame. I'm just guessing that someone who kills children and stuff too, though, like they probably didn't raise the dogs well, and then they're guard dogs, so they probably would be like less friendly. And then that Hollis's dog would have been more friendly. So I'm just doing as far as like ones that would get. That's why I was putting that one higher. But again, I don't think those like it's not the dogs' fault that they ate a person though. Too. I don't putting blame on them for that. So yeah, Rorschach. I mean, John, I liked him up until he killed Rorschach. So he's at the bottom. I like him less than I like Adrian.
Adrian the mass murderer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you about? Okay, we didn't actually talk about this at all, but what do you think about Comedian? Like, not whether or not you like him, but he's like a very divisive, intense character to talk about, because he like beat the shit out of Sally. Silk Sector 1 was gonna rape her.
With him later, like
I know she's a weird person too. Like she's. And like, I'm not saying that I don't believe that a woman would have sex with a man who tried to rape her. Like that's definitely a thing. But like,
but it's a weird thing. I can believe it, but I think it's like something is very wrong with you.
Wrong with you, yeah. But like he's like so strange.
Yeah, because it's hard. Because I'm like, he does care about just like but then. I don't know. He's kind of an enigma to me, because I don't really know where but then he's also supposed to be known as like being probably like conservative on like it doesn't like gays and stuff too, bro,
Yeah.
on that kind of thing.
Like my idea about comedian is that he like, and Rorschach recognizes this in him, which is part of the reason why Rorschach has some respect for comedian, is that comedian sees the world in as basically this very dark thing that is a joke. Like it's a joke on everyone, essentially. And which is why like all the darkness in the world is like a bad punchline to him. And which is why he doesn't care whether or not he does really horrible things, and that he just is willing to use this darkness as an excuse essentially to do things that give him pleasure. And like, but and this made sense to me actually at the end, like right before he dies, and he figures out what's going on, what is going to happen. And to him, this is horrifying. What Adrian plans to do is horrifying to him. And it actually makes sense that in his old age that he cares more, because he's starting to not see the world as meaningless anymore. A lot of people in their old age actually do start like looking for a more metaphysical answer to life. So it makes sense that like at this stage in his life, he's starting to find more meaning, and the idea that someone would do this is horrifying to him.
It makes sense too, because like you kind of mellow out as you get, and like your hormones,
yeah, like men's testosterone drops dramatically as they age.
And then even like that drops, things even out. I mean, like I get women with menopause, like things will fluctuate, like they'll get crazy for but then like later on after, like things kind of, if they even out and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but for him, yeah, so I could see like, oh yeah, as you're older, then you just kind of like settle down and like you're not as rowdy and stuff too. So then, yeah.
He even admits that he does bad things. He knows what he's doing is wrong. Like most of the time, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a piece of shit."
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reasons why he never, like the day that whenever he spend the 2 times he meets Lori, he never actually says that he's her dad. He knows, but he doesn't say anything because he's like, I'm a piece of shit. She's probably better off without me. And but also like it's so like Sally's attitude toward him is so weird. She's like, oh my god, he's trying to rape me with a monster, I'm gonna have sex with him, and then now, oh my god, I've got a daughter, I've got to protect her from the monster.
Yeah.
It's just, and then when she's much older, she's like, oh, poor Eddie, he's dead.
Oh, that was so long ago. Just, let things go.
It's different now.
Yeah. And then she she kissed his photo too at the end.
She
all
did.
sad about
well, I
that.
mean, she might be somewhat thankful to him that she had her daughter, whom she loves, because of him. Like, it's kind of hard to separate that out. Like, honestly, I get that. Like, you would look at her and you would see Eddie in her face and stuff. So, like, certainly in her hair, they have the same hair. but yeah, like Eddie is so comedian is so like awful, and and he does say that second time he talked to Lori when she threw that drink in his face, like he only ever attempted rape once. And it's like, well, I guess you learned your lesson.
See, I could have
maybe
honestly, I might have been more forgiving that of like someone who like came on too strong and wasn't taking no for an answer. Like, not great. I could be a little bit more forgiving of that if he didn't beat her up.
Yes. Yeah, that's the part that's crazy.
Then I would never be interested in that. I mean, you got Punisher though too, when he's like strangling the therapist though, and then he starts kissing her and she's kissing him back though, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, knew it was coming, but it's just like I don't get being like, yeah, this is such a turn on, like me being in like fear for my life here.
Part of it has to, I know. I think some of it has to do with some people, their bodies and their brains confuse adrenaline for arousal. Like they're very close chemically. So
yeah. And I mean, I could see that too, that they're happening at the same time or something, though, that like with if hormones and chemicals are being released, that maybe like something is that it's not mixing them up, it's just releasing both. And then,
Yeah.
and that or that like the adrenaline and stuff like, maybe something's broken and then it like it releases it, then you get attached, like, well, this is what I like now, and I do get aroused when this kind of thing happens.
Yeah. Well, and then like I think something with like a lot of times that there's violence that like essentially what you said, that like they experience violence during sexual moments, and then they assume that violence causes arousal and their body reacts the same way. The thing is that there's a lot of physiological similarities between the two, like breath and temperature. Those things are very like what happens to your body during adrenaline. Is there's a lot of things about it that are this exact same as arousal. So I can see the confusion. And you know what? I like, honestly, like, whatever gets your rocks off, just don't actually do it to people who are not consenting adults. That's my only take on that. And
Right.
which is why the BDSM thing exists or whatever. Not to kink shame. I will kink shame one thing, but that's gonna come in the Bridgerton video.
Feet. We'll kink shame that. It's just gross.
Yeah, that is gross. That is gross. That was not what I was talking about, but you're right. It's gross.
Don't get it. Never will. Don't want to.
Nope. It's weird. I don't know. Where does that association come from? The violence association makes more sense to me than the feet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, let's finish this out. So next book club is June 13th. The book is The Great Gatsby, doing a modern classic from F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I do want to talk a bit about like some of the behind the scenes things that happen with F. Scott Fitzgerald and everything.
And why is it considered a modern classic?
Modern is in capital M, as in the modernist period.
Okay.
Versus postmodernist, which comes after it.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Faulkner, Hemmingway, Fitzgerald, those are all modern authors. Like I think Grapes of Wrath. Yeah, like all of that. That's all modern. The literary term, not as in temporal. It is kind of funny that they named it the modern time period. They might name it modern.
Yeah, was
and then it's like, but time kept going on.
Well, like we'll never have the future be a concern for us ever.
I know, that's why the next one is postmodern.
Yeah, then what's after that?
Yeah, I know, postmodern. But actually, the word that you use to mean like now is contemporary. If you're talking about like artist periods, it's contemporary, or like someone is a contemporary of the time, like Jane Austen is a contemporary of the Regency period, kind of thing. That's the word you use. Modern is pigeonholed for that stupid
because
period.
they already named it. It's too late.
They're the dumbasses. Okay, yeah. Like, I didn't come up with this word. It's not my classification. But yeah, we're going to be talking about The Great Gatsby. It's actually one of my favorite of the novels from the period, but I don't like most of the novels from that period, by the way. And then over on Beverly's channel, The Dim Side, we are doing the Dim Stream on Thursday, and we are covering Punisher season 2, which you got a little bit of taste of, and maybe the movie Passengers, which now I remember why I recommended that to you in the first place, is because of F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. I remember now that because in my brain, the movie Passengers is associated with F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Fitzgerald and Virginia Woolf and Leonard Woolf. Not for any reason that you will see in the movie, by the way. And then on my channel, we're doing gaming live streams all the time. Not this one. Gaming is on Alex of All Trades on Rumble.
You're so aggressive when you said not this one.
Yeah, I'm like, because I remembered. I was like, wait a minute, I'm on Alex's book.
This is my channel.
You have 2 channels. Except for if you're watching this on YouTube, then it's still on this same channel. Not to be confusing as fuck. So tomorrow is gaming reveal at noon on Alex of All Trades. I've already spun the wheel for everybody. You can join us for the Nets Book Club. It doesn't just have to be the 2 of us bitching. Although most of the bitching came from Beverly this time.
I'll choose something I hate.
Well, clearly you're going to love the next novel. I'm absolutely certain of it. By which I mean you're totally not.
I read it in high school. I don't remember exactly. At least it's only 5 hours long.
It's a short one. All right, so that is that is everything. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.